Hello my friends, welcome back to another episode of Ride Review. My name is Tyson and today I am showing you an electric longboard, the Meepo V5. Here it is, give you a little walk around look at it. Now this is Meepo's beginner series electric longboard, right? They recommend this if you are a beginner, you know, maybe you're new to the board sports entirely, or maybe you're just new to having an electrified longboard. This one is a great starting point. I agree with their assessment for it. It's not so powerful that it's going to overwhelm you. It has a very nice natural longboard feel to it. They've done a good job with how it's built in regards to the longboard part of it. You know, electronics aside, and pretty good stuff for the electronics too, for, you know, a price point of 350 bucks. Not too bad to get into a really fun sport. If you don't know anything about Meepo boards, they've been making electric skateboards and longboards since about 2017 or so. I actually got to meet the founder of the company, Kiran, when I was at the Consumer Electronics Show earlier this month. Awesome guy. He gave me the tour of their whole lineup and then, you know, sent me this one to review. So let's, you know, dive into this board and check it out. All right, so first let's just talk kind of the overall design of this board here. Now it's, you know, definitely a longboard, not a skateboard. You know, pretty long deck here, pretty wide too, over 11 inches, so nice and easy to stand on. The unique thing about this board, which you can probably already see, is the handle right here. Carry handle that you know, makes it very easy to just pick it up and carry around, way easier than carrying it by the trucks, you know, especially since these longboards are kind of long and they'll tend to drag on the ground if you don't hold them high enough. This is just, it's super easy, pretty portable. Weighs in at just under 18 pounds, so not too bad for carrying it around. Makes it a good fit for, you know, like if you commute to say school or work or something like that. And we're on a college campus right now. This really is a great environment to ride it in, where I could see this being a great fit for somebody. Now, when I first saw that, you know, they had the carry handle in here, I was a little skeptical, like, oh, is that going to compromise just the, you know, the feel and flex of the deck? But it doesn't seem to. You know, in all my riding, it's felt super awesome, and having the convenience, being able to carry it like that, you know, definitely worth it. They've even got it positioned a little bit off center because the motor end of the board here is a little bit heavier than the battery end back here, and so that's right where you need it for it to just set evenly. You know, it's a pretty stealthy design board too. You know, if you look at the underside, then you'd be able to guess like, oh yeah, it's got to be electric. I can see some stuff there, but it's all integrated so cleanly that you know, you don't see a lot of cabling or anything like that, so it can easily pass as a regular longboard. Let's get the board flipped over here so we can talk about the electronics. It's pretty dirty here, as you can see, because I've been riding this thing quite a lot. Okay, so I've got the standard battery version. So this is the battery right here. Got the charge port. It's got a nice seal cover for it that seems like it does a pretty good job. I rode it through some puddles on accident, and you know, after that, when I opened this up, I noticed there was just kind of some water pooled in there, so I did have to let it dry out before I charged it. So, you know, something to keep in mind. You should really try not to be riding it through puddles. You know, don't ride in the rain. I mean, that's good even on a non-electric longboard. Water and stuff like that really messes up your bearings, and you know, now we've got all the electronics to worry about on here. So, you know, nice weather only when you can. Now these batteries, you know, can be replaced if you know, need to. Maybe you age it out or something. As you can see, the bolts on right here so that you can remove it. So you could, you know, install a new battery yourself if you need to. And this is something I really like about Meepo, is that they sell, you know, all of their replacement, you know, batteries, parts, motors, controllers, everything that goes on these boards. You can buy it on their website for pretty decent prices. So you could even do the replacements yourself without having to send it in. So, you know, good job to them for doing that. Then up here at the front half of the board, this is all the, you know, the controller hardware and everything housed in the front. Here's the power button to turn it on. When you do turn it on, then you get a battery meter right here. Only 4 bars, you know, so it's not super precise, and you know, mine's already down to halfway. If you have the standard battery pack, it is worth noting that it's just not a whole lot of range. That's probably the, you know, the one downside to this board. If you get the standard version of it, they say a range of 11 miles, but keep in mind that's kind of an average figure. If you are, you know, a more advanced rider, you like to ride it all the way up in the highest speed setting and like to ride fast, and you know, maybe you have a lot of starts and stops on your route, then you know, 7 to 8 miles might be a bit more realistic. The longest trip I've done so far was a round trip of 8 miles exactly, and then I was down to, you know, 1 bar remaining. And when it's just 4 bars like that, it's not very precise, so it can give you a little bit of range anxiety. But the nice thing though is that this is still a pretty easy board to push around if you ran out of battery power. You know, the front wheels are awesome, they roll great. Since there's the hub motors back here, they don't freewheel as good as a normal wheel, and so, you know, it's going to be a little bit more work than pushing a normal longboard, but really not that bad. So, you know, if you have to leg it home the last mile or two, you'll be fine. Now talking about the motors here, so hub motors is what we're working with. There's 2 of them, 1 in each of the back wheels here. 500 watt is the nominal wattage on these things. So that's a good beginner board, like I was saying. This isn't something that's going to overwhelm or overpower you. Hub motors like this are very common on more affordably priced boards. Now, there's different drive systems for these. The hub motor like this, you can have a gear-driven system or a belt drive, and everyone has its trade-offs. So with a hub motor, the pros are they're a lot cheaper generally, so you get a more affordable board. They tend to be very just durable and resilient. They don't really require a lot of maintenance. Really, all that you have to do is replace the outer part of the wheels here, the PU sleeves out here, when they wear off. But they designed these so that they're easy to get off and put new ones on there, or if you wanted to upgrade to different ones, maybe with a little bit of a different texture on there, or even just thicker ones for more ride comfort, you can do that. Let's see, the hub motors like this also don't have as much torque as you might get on a belt-driven or gear-driven system. So this is not going to climb hills as well as one of those might. It still does pretty well. I live in an area that doesn't have a lot of hills. There's nothing here that is even a challenge for it. But if you lived somewhere, I don't know, like in the Bay Area or something with a lot of really steep inclines, might be a little bit too much for a hub motor like this, especially since they're only 500 watts. Now, the electronics are controlled with this remote. Now, Meepo's got a bunch of different styles of remotes depending on which of their boards you get. This is kind of the more basic one, the M5. One thing that I don't love about it is that it does not have any kind of a display on it, right? So a lot of them will have a little screen so that you can see how fast you're going, you can see the total miles on the board, what the settings are, etc. This one is more simplified, and I mean, that can be a positive for some people. This one's very small, you can just stick it in your pocket easily, and so I do definitely like that part of it. And I think the battery lasts on it longer too, so that it doesn't have the screen to power. It has its own battery pack in there, and you can charge it with USB-C, which is awesome. You've got the throttle control right up here, push forward to go fast, pull it back to brake. And then you can control the different aspects of the board here. So let's hold down the power button. We'll fire this up. It's going to be a little bit hard to see here in the daylight, but you get your board battery lights showing up right there, and then you can press the the mode switch button right over here on the left. You can press this to change the riding mode, right? So if we press it once, we'll see I have it in riding mode 3. You can go from 1 through 4 on your riding modes just for the acceleration part of it. And level 1 is going to cap your speed really low to like 7 miles per hour top speed. Great when you're just starting out. It's very low acceleration curve too, so it's not going to throw you off. Once you feel a little better, you can bump it up to 2, get up to going like 15 miles per hour. And then levels 3 and 4 are where it really gets fun. 3 unlocks your speed completely, 28 miles per hour, but then you can still the acceleration isn't too drastic. If you go all the way up to 4, instant acceleration, it's going to take off a lot more speedily. But keep in mind, that's really going to cut into your range if you're pushing it, accelerating as fast as you can. You can also change your braking modes on here. If you hold down the brake, basically hold the wheel backwards and then press that mode switch button, then you can see, right now I'm up there on level 4 for braking. You can go 1, 2, 3, and 4. It came in the top one there, and I haven't changed it because it feels good, but you can change that. They can be a little bit aggressive on braking, and so if you're, maybe your motor control with your thumb isn't so good, then you can dial that down to like 1, and then it's going to be a pretty smooth, relaxed braking experience versus, having a little more strength to it. Up next, I want to talk about the longboard components on here, right? Because this is, it's not just an electric longboard. All of the non-electric components, the trucks, the bushings, the board choice, and everything makes a big difference for the ride experience. And so I was really curious, since this is my first experience with the Meepo boards, really, to see how good of a job they did. And I think it's pretty awesome, honestly. So let's talk trucks first. We've got 45-degree angles on the trucks, which is good for a longboard where you're prioritizing more stability and safety, especially if you want to be going fast. So the lower the truck angle gets, kind of a lower center of gravity. You don't have as good of a turning radius, but it makes it feel a lot more stable. You're less likely to get the speed wobbles or death wobbles when you're going fast. So solid choice on there. The bushings as well, these are really tall, 19mm bushings on here, 92A. So this is on the tall side for a bushing, and it's also a little bit on the hard side. And just general, how the bushings affect the ride performance. If they're shorter, then you're going to have more responsiveness, a little bit more tighter turning radius. But when they're taller, you get the stability, especially at speed, which is important here. And also the really tall bushings can kind of absorb some vibration, gives you a little bit smoother of a ride. So I think that's pretty awesome. So ultimately what it comes down to is these bushings are a good balance of kind of performance and responsiveness, with also balancing that with the stability. And it's biased a bit more towards the stability stability and the safety at speed end of things, which I think is the perfect choice for a longboard that has a top speed of 28 miles per hour. You're going to be going fast, and so being able to do that safely and, you know, enjoying it at that speed really is important. And the deck on here, this is 8-layer. Let's get this put back up here. 8-layer maple deck provides a pretty good balance of stiffness and a little bit of flexibility and give. You can bounce around on it a bit. You don't want to have these bend too much because you don't want to be scraping the battery and stuff like that. If you're really putting some bounce into it, maybe you're a little bit on the heavier side. So again, it's a good choice here. A nice sturdy deck that's going to feel stable at speed, and it still has a pretty good feel to it. This has just overall a very good natural longboard feel to it. I've been longboarding for many years before starting to get into doing electric ones, and so that's something that's definitely important to me. Is like I want it to still feel like a longboard, and I think they do a good job. It's definitely got bigger wheels than a standard longboard. These wheels are, I think, 90 by 60. Yep. Yeah, 90 by 60. So this is as small as you want to get on an electric longboard, honestly. The bigger diameter means it can roll over obstacles better rolling efficiency. And that's kind of crucial. When you're on a regular longboard that's not electric and you hit a rock that throws you off, usually you're not going all that fast. And so it's not a huge deal, especially if you know how to run it out or roll. But when you're going 28 miles per hour, that's too fast to run it out for most people. And even if you know how to roll, it doesn't feel great at that speed. So knowing your wheels can roll over the obstacles, huge win. And I also like, they put the nose guards on here, both on the nose and on the tail back here. This can go in both directions. You can change the direction on the remote if you want to. I usually only go forward. That's one gotcha here is keep in mind there's the arrow that tells you which way is forward. Because if you get on the wrong direction and then try to hit the accelerator, it's going to be very shocking. You're going to get thrown off. I've definitely done that a few times. So watch the arrow. Alrighty, folks, we're going to do a little bit of ride testing here. So on the remote, I'm going to put it down in all the way in speed mode 1 here, just so I can show you, what that looks like realistically. So I'm going to give it just a little bit of a push to get rolling here, just a couple miles per hour, and then we'll just hammer on the throttle, and we're already at the top speed. So, speed mode 1, very slow. Honestly, I think it's supposed to be 7 miles per hour, and this feels even slower. So when you're just, trying to get the feel for it right off the bat, good way to start, but pretty quick, you're going to want to bump that on up to speed mode level 2, and then here we'll just hammer on. That's as fast as we can accelerate in speed level 2. Pretty tame, pretty smooth, and this is our top speed here. This feels like, 8-ish miles per hour, maybe. Wow, that's loud. So yeah, the speed mode 2 right here, this is probably like your mode to start with if you're just kind of new to it, trying to learn it, get the hang of it before really tackling the higher speeds. But it's going to get boring pretty quick. So we're going to go ahead and bump it on up to 3. This is where I ride at most of the time, because you get the full top speed ability of the board, but you get more range out of it than if you're riding in level 4. So just so you can see, how fast is it in this mode, let's just come on, slow down here to a complete stop. Then I'm just going to hammer on the throttle. You got to make sure you lean forward. Get some pretty decent acceleration here. It feels good. It's not overpowering. Come around here to another straightaway and get some speed going. So like I said, this is my favorite mode, level 3. Like it feels good. Beats the heck out of pushing yourself on a regular longboard, that is for sure. Now there's a lot that you can do with the board to adjust it for the ride feeling. Now when you get it, the trucks are probably going to be very loose, which is going to make it very sensitive and responsive in turning. Probably going to be too loose, honestly. Like it was way too loose to ride when I got it, especially if you want to go fast. So you might want to tighten those up. The tighter you get them, the more stable your ride's going to be. But then, the bigger your turning radius is going to be. That's kind of the biggest downside to that. You're not going to be able to make those tight turns. So I've got mine, fairly tightened up, but I don't know, I can still carve pretty good on here. I definitely am more of a high-speed carving when it comes to style riding, though, so keep that in mind. Let's see if we can really get going fast here. Top speed on this board is 25 miles per hour, right? But I don't know if I've, you know, actually been hitting that or not. It's kind of hard to tell because there's no speedometer readout on the remote. But I don't feel like I'm going 25. You know, I'm gonna hammer it on here, really get going as fast as I can. Like, this feels like I'm, you know, 20 to 25 range, probably not quite hitting 28. It's hard to say. Everything does feel faster when you're on a longboard, you know, compared to like a bike or something like that. Let's get turned around here. Another thing to keep in mind is that, you know, we're already kind of running low on battery here. I'm at 50%. You're gonna get your best acceleration when you're, you know, full battery, and the standard battery on here just doesn't give you a ton of range to work with. Definitely one downside. All right, let's bump this all the way up to 4. So this is where we get the strongest acceleration, but, you know, theoretically the top speed of the board is still the same. This is when it gets to be important to, you know, really like lean into it, because if we hit it full throttle, we take off a lot more. I've actually got to get this like aggressive stance to not get thrown off the back of the board, and then we can build up speed quite a bit quicker. Let's see what we can do here. Felt a little bit faster. I still feel like I'm probably getting around 25 or so, but yeah, we can give them the benefit of the doubt on that since I can't measure it very realistically here. All right, we've got a little bit of a downhill here actually, so let's see what we can do speed-wise, see if we can keep ahead of these cars. I'm still in 4, so we got that nice brisk acceleration. I mean, look at that, we really took off. I'm actually feeling a little bit of speed wobble from the back wheel, so I may maybe we're not going to hit 28 miles per hour here today. I think my trucks are still a little bit looser than I would like them to be. Now I've got it in level 4 for braking, so let's, you know, we'll see how fast we can stop. It actually locked out the tires a little bit there, I don't know if you heard it. I'm going to do another, just kind of a brake test example here. You know, like I said, I've got this all the way tuned up to 4 in braking, which is the strongest one. So I don't know, I'm probably going like 15 miles per hour here. So if I really hammer on the brakes, it'll, I don't know if you can hear it, but it's actually locking the back tires and skidding. So that's something to keep in mind with the braking. If you don't feel good about, you know, how fine your control is with your thumb on the brake, you might want to put that in like 2 or 3. I like to have it in 4 just because I don't know, I have good control with my thumb. I like being able to stop quickly, you know, especially if I like jump off the board and I can just hit the brake and it stops it. So dial it in to your personal preference. Do one more brake check here. We'll get going kind of fast, then we can just lean back and comes to a nice quick stop. Definitely love being able to do that compared to a regular longboard where you get going fast and that can get a little bit worrisome. All right, we're going to talk about, I want to just talk about the longboard feel, and especially the freewheeling aspect of the motors on here. Come back on the bike path. I'm gonna get going a little bit of speed here, and then I'm just gonna let off the throttle and coast for a bit here. You know, I'm definitely losing some speed now. Like it does not freewheel like a normal longboard, right? You've got just a little bit too much resistance in those hub motors. So if you did run out of battery, you know, you're having to push it around, you can totally do it, but you're gonna be getting some exercise in, you know, you'll be able to push. So hopefully you don't have to do that for, you know, more than maybe like a mile or 2, get some downhills. But yeah, it can be done. Riding in level 4 is a ton of fun, but it has its consequences. We're down to the last bar on our battery here already, and I honestly don't feel like I've done that many miles today. I feel like I'm probably at maybe 5 or 6 tops right now. So, you know, like I was saying before, if you want to take this out for a more like long range fun rides, you're probably going to want to spring for the extended battery, so the total cost would be $500, which is still a pretty decent price for, you know, getting a good quality board like this. If you're, you know, doing smaller rides, you know, maybe you're commuting to you're a student and you're riding it to class or something like that, or you ride it to work and you have a place to plug it in and charge while you're at work, then you'll be fine, you know? So I think that would be my biggest consideration if you're considering this board and saying, is it right for me? That'd be, what style of riding you're doing, how far do you want to be able to go, and if you can afford it, go for the extended range, you know, why not? It sucks having to worry about if your battery is gonna get you there or not. Alrighty, my friends, that, I think that's about it for today for my review of Meepo's V5. I'm a big fan of this board overall. I've had a blast riding it. You know, honestly, I think that it's built really well, especially just, you know, when you talk about the longboarding components on it. I think they did pick good components for the type of riding that people are going to be doing on this board. Love the carry handle for, you know, just portability, ease of use. And, you know, for, you know, 350 bucks, getting a nice entry-level board to get into electric longboarding, like, that is really hard to beat. Really, my only caveat for this is that you're pretty limited on range, so maybe spring, you know, for that 500 bucks total for the extended battery pack so that you can, you know, ride all day, because trust me, once you get started on this thing, you're going to want to be going for longer rides. Even if you buy it as a utility longboard to get you to school or work, you're going to be having so much fun that you won't be able to keep off it. All right, guys, thanks for watching this review. Thanks for to Meepo for sending me the board to review. If you guys have, you know, questions about this review, holler at me in the comments section so that I can get back to you. And then, you know the drill. Ride safe out there. Catch you in the next video.